Hello everybody, and welcome to this video conference that we're having here. In case if you don't know, my name is Shaukat Mortada. I'm the CEO of Langhorne Engineering Firm, and we're gathered all here today to just discuss some of the problems that we've been having with our organization. I'm here joined by a few of our board members, and luckily, thanks to some technology, our other board members that are all around the world here can also video conference in. If at any point you have any questions or you're having any issues hearing or seeing us, just let us know, and then we'll make sure that we stop and fix whatever issues that we may be having. Now, just so you know, just for everybody's knowledge here, we have roughly 1,500 people in our organization, and our headquarters is located here in sunny San Diego, California. Before we dive in and open up the floor to some questions, there are just a few points that I want to go through here. And like I said, if at any point you may have a question, rather than stopping the process, I ask that you just write it down, and then when I open up the floor for questions, you can then feel free to ask. So, why are we here? Well, our company for the past 6 months has been struggling, and for the past 2 months, we've actually been operating at a financial loss. All right, and on top of that, we've also been experiencing some turnover as well. So some of our employees, unfortunately, are leaving. And so we're gathered here today really to see how we can fix those problems. Like I said, I'm going to suggest a few options as to how we can remedy the issues that we're facing. But first things first, the key thing that we wanted to work towards today is also seeing how we can accept this offer from this large firm or this large corporation that actually wants our services, right? So there are some board members that are a little reluctant to sign this contract just given the issues that our organization is currently facing. So how can we overcome that? First, like I said, we're operating at a financial loss. So I believe that we have to do a better job forecasting so that we can get an understanding of our financial situation and just to kind of see how we're comparing to our competitors and just other businesses that are currently in the market. As Steiner suggested in 1979, and I quote, "Organizations can improve its effectiveness if it can forecast its environment, anticipate problems, and develop plans to respond to those problems," as cited in Armstrong in 1983 on page 1. So why forecasting? I believe that forecasting can help us allocate our resources appropriately, which will hopefully help to limit the financial loss that we're currently experiencing. All right, and so if we're able to kind of see where we're heading, and I'm not saying that forecasting will be the absolute reason why we will stop operating at a financial loss, but it will help us get a clear or bigger picture as to how we're moving financially, what are some things that we can be working on, and how we can just get the ball rolling as far as getting us back into a cash positive flow. All right, and so that forecasting leads me right into my next point, which is actually a theory that was presented by Dr. Deming. He actually developed a 14-point total quality management kind of guide for organizations to follow if they want to increase their productivity and the quality of their organization. And so the point that I want to stress here is point 5, and this was actually, this information was provided to us by Mitri in 2006. But overall, point 5 suggests that in order to yield better overall performance within your organization, there must be a continual rise in production and a decrease in cost. And so just kind of finding ways that we can better perform while keeping costs low will put us in a better financial situation. All right, and so like I said here, I'm really just trying to gain the trust of our board members. I personally believe as the CEO that our company is able to tackle this big contract that we have awaiting us, and I think that that also will help us get past this financial loss that we're operating at. Some other recommendations that I have as it relates to just the organizational structure. For starters, I believe that we are a little bit too focused on, I guess you could say, the scientific way of operating as a company. I think that we're focusing too much on monitoring our staff and checking to see, how fast they're producing X, Y, and Z, that we're losing sight or neglecting the empathy that goes within an organization, or that should be incorporated in an organization. And so, it's definitely important that we're being empathetic to our employees so that they stay longer. Like I said, we're struggling with our turnover rate, and if employees don't feel as though that they're a part of a team, but rather just a part of a bigger machine that's just going, they won't want to stay in that environment because they feel as though their needs are not being met. All right, because on many of our exit interviews that we've had for those employees that have left us, they said that the main reason for their departure was the fact that nobody in management would listen to them. And, they feel like they had no say in what was going on in the organization. So the empathy that leadership demonstrates to their employees could also trickle down to our clients as well. Because what we're preaching, which is, now we're going to become more empathetic. We're going to have kind of like that open door policy to allow for employees to talk to us. If employees are embracing and embodying that theory and that concept, that then translates into our client-company relationship as well, because we're better understanding what it is exactly our clients need and not just focusing on the bottom line. So that empathy then becomes a part of our culture, which I think can drive us into the right direction. And we also want our employees to feel more engaged, as engaged employees tend to increase organizational performance, according to Kateria, Rastogi, and Garg in 2013. It is important that we structure our organization correctly as well, as Wolf in 2002 suggested that organizational structure directly affects the success of an organization. And that was stated in Ajabe, Chow, Udu, and Ajodu Chide in 2016. All right, so that's one recommendation that I have for our organizational structure. Leave the scientific structure behind a bit and start focusing more on the empathy side of things. All right, so another recommendation as it relates to communication, I think that there are a couple of plans that we can put into place regarding communication. All right, and for starters, I think that we have to really focus on communication and try to stay away from too much secret or too many secrets being a part of our organization, keeping our employees and other leaders out of the loop, because communication is extremely important. And Conrad in 2014 actually said that it was so important that he compared it to it just being the lifeblood of an organization. And Conrad in 2014 also went on to suggest that organizations who lack proper communication are less productive. And so we're kind of seeing that trend within our organization as well, because the leadership, including myself, isn't really doing a good job of keeping our employees in the loop of some changes that are coming down the pipeline. So when a change actually does reach our employees, they don't know how to react to it. And so that production goes back down, and we are where we are right now. So it is time for our organization to be more open with one another and invite conversations. By being more communicative and having policies, like I stated before, such as an open door policy, our staff will feel more comfortable talking to one another, thus making for a more relaxed and cohesive work environment. Again, lowering that turnover rate, because without employees, as you know, our organization can't run. All right, and so through that open door policy, our staff will feel more comfortable, be able to talk to one another, and this would also, like I said, encourage our staff to stay and decrease our turnover rate, and hopefully increase our productivity. Another plan that I have that I plan to take into effect actually within our organization is to host more meetings, have them more frequently, as to ensure that our members are kept abreast of all of the changes that are occurring in our organization. Previously, there were a lot of changes that were made in the organization that were only kept between senior leaders, such as myself, leaving the rest of our staff out of the loop and their opinions unheard. So most of the staff felt misrepresented or underrepresented, and this lowered their morale. It is important that their voices are heard in order for us to retain them. All right, and as far as external communication goes, our leaders, I'm going to implore all of them to go out to different engineering events and to mingle with other organizations that are like us, to see kind of what's working and what isn't working, what we can incorporate and get rid of as part of our organization as well. Because we're only as good as the information that we have and the information that we can utilize to our advantage. So if we're staying kind of siloed and not interacting with other people within our field, that could be detrimental to our success as well, because we're only going to be focused on us without knowing what's going on and without getting some tips and some helpful information as well. So as far as decision making and problem solving goes, it's clear that decision making needs to occur, or better decision making rather, needs to occur in this organization in order to turn around our poor financial performance and to retain our valuable employees. I believe that decisions being made need to be well thought out and vetted across all appropriate channels. All right, there have been some interdepartmental conflicts and problems that have come up that weren't properly addressed, or that was only handled by one branch of management. And because of that, no other perspectives were able to be considered in the decision-making process, and rather than making a better decision or solving a problem the correct way, it was solved incorrectly, and we were just back at square one. So when I gathered all of the team leads and managers from each of the departments, that was one concern that we brought up and that we wanted to bring to the board of directors, to let you all know that we're going to make that change, that we're going to start talking to one another, and that when a problem comes up, we don't just handle it in that one department, but rather bring it together and across the entire enterprise, where we can properly vet any issues that we may be having in order to develop the best decision possible. All right, and so like I stated, we're leaving the fate of a certain decision in the hands of just one party, and that isn't working. All right, and we also plan to incorporate some of the steps to better decision making that were presented in the article 4 Principles for Making Better Decisions that was released in 2014. 2 of those principles that we're looking to implement in our organization. Number 1 is to distinguish between real options and false options. All right, so when it comes to potential clients, we need to know what projects we can actually complete and which we cannot, as to not make any false promises to our potential clients, and to not give our organization a bad name. So we have to really analyze each project that we're given, the time frame in which it's to be completed, and whether or not we can complete that to the best of our ability to make sure that the customer is 100% satisfied. And certainly in this case, the situation that we're in, another step that we wanted to take that is a part of those 4 principles is that we must forget about the past, right? But also remember it at the same time. So you want to keep the past in mind and help you get better, and let you know and kind of have a metric that indicates that you are improving. But at the same time, you don't want it to hold you down. You don't want the past to be an anchor. You want to be able to let it go once you're able to start seeing those improvements. All right, and again, as it relates to decision making, once a decision is made by the board of directors, I would love to have this kind of video conference. I know that you all are on a very tight schedule and that there's a lot going on, but once we make a decision here, I think that it's important that leaders from each department, so the different managers and team leads, get together and have them put in or just throw in their input. And once that happens, if the majority agrees with the decision that was made from up top, then we can proceed with that decision. However, if the majority disagrees, perhaps the board of directors need to take another look at the current situation to see how we can kind of modify that decision that would make all of the team leads agree towards a certain decision, or we just may need to scratch that and start all over again. However, I think it's very important that more voices are being heard in this organization, because I think it's because of this this kind of silo that's occurring within our organization that there's a lot of miscommunication, and unfortunately because of that, financial loss and employee turnover. All right, so next, as far as problem solving, I believe that problems are to be solved by more than one department head. Like I said, if there is a problem within a department, they are to bring it to the meetings that will be held weekly. This will allow for different perspectives to weigh in on how to go about solving a particular problem. All right, so as far as managerial approach goes, I believe that it's important that managers and leaders exhibit proper leadership behavior. Yuko in 2012 suggested that leaders have the ability to improve organizational performance through their behaviors. I feel as though our management has been too focused, like I said, on task-oriented behaviors, that they've neglected the importance of relations-oriented behaviors. And I strongly believe that that is the reason for the high turnover rate. Again, not being as empathetic as we need to our employees, not letting their voices be heard. And as far as leadership approach, it starts here. It starts with the board of directors. It starts with me, then the president, right? So it starts up top. We definitely have to be more humble. I think the previous success that we were having kind of put us in this place of contentment where we felt as though we couldn't be touched. And for that reason, it started trickling down, and now we're in not so good of a situation. So I know that at times, myself, I can get a little riled up, but really it's out of love and the passion that I have for this organization. And a recent Catalyst study also supports this notion. Prime and Salib in 2014 stated that this survey found, and I quote, "Humility is one of the 4 leadership factors for creating an environment where employees from different demographic backgrounds feel included." And that could be found on page 2. And I too will also have to become a little bit more emotionally intelligent to understand when our team members are, or how our team members are feeling, as this correlation between empathetic leaders and financial performance, according to the Harvard Business Review, is actually something that's very important and should be on the radar of every organization. And this information was brought to us by Ovens in 2015. So just to kind of summarize here before I open the floor back up, or open the floor up for any questions, I want us to just know that in order to make this change, it's going to take all of us, not some of us and not one of us. We have to do this as a team in order to push our organization forward. We have to forecast a bit into the future to get an overriding theme to be able to know what financial decisions we should or shouldn't make. I think that we have to open up our communication channels and invite our employees in to make decisions as well. I think that we have to be more empathetic to our employees as to decrease the turnover rate that we're currently facing. And if we can empower our employees, know what our finances are looking like and how they may turn out depending upon the decisions that we make now, we'll be able to increase our or improve our financial state. So again, my name is Shaukat Mortada, CEO of Langhorne Engineering Firm, and now I'm opening up the floor to you all.